Hi, welcome to PropertySMART's HDB series with Kelvin Chai, your real estate agents for more than 25 years. I had a deep interest in HDB studies, and today I would like to share with you more about HDB resale housing grants. To start off, I will share with you these 5 pointers on HDB resale housing grant. First, the introduction. Second, on the 8 different types of housing grants qualifications. Third, the 6 different types of housing grants being offered by HDB. Fourth, on the application of this housing grant. And last but not least, about the terms and conditions one have received on the housing grant benefits. HDB offers eligible families who are first-timer of housing grant benefits up to 190,000. The criteria to assess this is including the family income, also the type of flats they are buying, and lastly, also very importantly about the unit they buy, whether they can last the buyer up to the age of 95. One got to take note that this housing grant being offered is a form of CPF that will be credited to the member's CPF ordinary account. Together with their ordinary account CPF amount, they will use to offset the down payment. And if there's any surplus, we'll go to offset the mortgage loan. That means to say is to lower the mortgage loan amount. Lastly, one must take note that upon the unit sold, the amount of grant being offered got to return back to their CPF account together with the accrued interest. We'll come to the 8 different types of qualifications HDB will assess. First, the applicants who is going to be the recipient for the CPF housing grant must be a Singapore citizen. Second, this recipient must be a first-timer. That means to say that they have never enjoyed any housing subsidies from HDB before. Third, income ceiling. One got to remember that if they are applying under the family, the income ceiling cannot be more than $14,000. If they are applying under the singles, the income ceilings will be at $7,000. Fourth, property ownership. If the recipient have just sold a prior property for the last 30 months, they will not be qualified for any HDB resale housing grant benefits. Fifth, the lease the buyer intend to buy mustn't be less than 20 years. The sixth one, the buyer got to buy a HDB resale flat that is at least a 2-bedroom or above. It cannot be smaller than a HDB resale 2-bedroom. On the 7th criteria, if a buyer has cancelled an exercise BTO flat, he or she for the next 12 months will not be qualified to have a HDB resale housing grant benefits. 8th, the final one, if the unit the buyer intend to buy has already been announced for sales, which means HDB en bloc, and this unit will not be able to offer any HDB resale housing grant to the buyer. Next, I will share with you the 6 different types of housing grant being offered by HDB. First, the family grant. Second, the enhanced housing grant. Third, proximity housing grant. Fourth, single grant. Fifth, half housing grant. And lastly, the top-up housing grant. HDB offers family grants for couples who are married or are engaging soon. The amount offered by HDB for family grant is $80,000 or $50,000. HDB offers couples with Singapore citizens and Singapore citizens combination intending to buy a 4-room or smaller of a CPF resale housing grant up to $80,000. Now, if this family is a combination of Singapore citizens and SPR, the grant will be, instead of $80,000, will become $70,000. On another scenario, if a Singapore citizens and Singapore citizens family intending to buy a 5-room or bigger unit, the housing grant benefits will be up to $50,000. Now, if this family combination is a Singapore citizens and SPR, the family grants offered will be at the 10,000 reductions. That means at the end of the day is $40,000. Next in line, we have the single grant. Single grant is offered for first-timer singles who are aged 35 and above, earning an income of not more than $7,000. To enjoy this housing resale grant benefits, singles got to take note that the biggest unit they can buy is up to 5-room flat. If these singles choose to buy a HDB 4-room or below, they are being offered a housing grant benefits of up to $40,000. If these singles were to choose to buy a HDB resale 5-room flat, the offered grants will be at $25,000. Enhanced housing grant came into action sometimes in September 2019. It replaces a very complicated combinations of additional housing grant and special housing grant. Now, to qualify for enhanced housing grant, buyer got to take note that the unit that they intend to buy must last them up to the age of 95, other than the qualifications income of $8,000. And they must also take note that they have to be continuously working for the past 12 months. If this buyer will earn a family income for about $5,000, they will receive an enhanced housing grant amount of up to $45,000. Likewise, for the singles, assuming their income is at about $2,500, they will receive an enhanced housing grant benefits of up to $22,500. Next in line will be proximity housing grant. For those who choose to stay near to parents or child for mutual care and support purposes, there will be 2 different scenarios to take care of. First, for families or singles who choose to stay with the parents or child, they will have to enjoy a PHG of up to $30,000. For singles who choose to stay with their parents together, they will enjoy a housing grant of $15,000. Now, if let's say the parents and child choose to stay near to each other, the criteria is it must be within the 4-kilometer radius. For families who choose to stay with parents nearby, they will enjoy a PHG of $20,000. For singles who choose to stay near to the parents, they will enjoy a PHG of $10,000. Half housing grant works for the applicants whose spouse have enjoyed some subsidies before. So for example, a typical 4-room flat purchased by a resale family, if this family, the spouse has enjoyed subsidies before, so instead of taking the full $80,000, they will only enjoy the half housing grant amount of $40,000. So our grant works in two scenarios. First, if a singles have actually bought a HDB resale flat beforehand and have enjoyed a housing grant under the single scheme, now that he's married, he can actually ask for a top-up grant. Second scenario is that when a Singapore citizens and SPR family, they intend to buy a HDB 4-room flat, and the grant being offered to them was at $70,000 because of the combination of Singapore citizens and SPR. Now the spouse being turned to become a Singapore citizens, they can have this option to go to the branch office to ask for the $10,000 reimbursement. Or if they have a child, Singapore citizens just born, they can likewise ask for this $10,000 top-up. Let's take a hypothetical example. John and Mary just got married and they are in their 20s. Their family income is at $6,000. They intend to buy a HDB resale 4-room flat and going to stay near to the parents. They will enjoy first the family grant of $80,000 because they're buying a 4-room and below. The enhanced housing grant benefits, they will enjoy based on $6,000. They will have this EHG amount of $35,000 credit to them. Lastly, because they intend to stay near to the parents, they will have this PHG of $20,000. So all in all, these housing grants benefits, John and Mary benefit is at amount of $135,000. Next in line will be the applications for enjoying the CPF housing grant. CPF housing grant is first used to offset the down payment. If there's any surplus together with the CPF ordinary account in the buyer's CPF account, then they will use to offset the mortgage loan portion. In short, the mortgage loan being lowered means the money installment for the buyers will also be lower. Now, one got to take note about CPF housing grant is not a form of cash, which means they are not able to use to offset the COV portion. This CPF housing grant cannot be used to offset the money installment the buyer is going to pay every month. Last but not least, CPF housing grant is not able to use for offsetting any miscellaneous costs like stamp duty, insurance, or legal costs. We come to the terms and conditions of having enjoyed this CPF housing grant. One got to take note that upon the sales of the flats that have already received the housing grants benefit, the CPF plus accrued interest from this housing grant got to return back to their CPF ordinary account. Also got to take note that having enjoyed this CPF housing grants benefits, one would have considered have taken a first cherry bite. That means they have taken a subsidized flat from HDB. So what does it mean by having enjoyed a subsidized flat? Now, in John's and Mary's scenario, let's take for example their resale flat plus housing grant is their first subsidized unit. Now, upon the MOP of this unit, they plan to buy the next house, which is a BTO or sales of balance flat. Can they do so? Yes, they can do so. But they've got to take care about the housing resale levy for the first subsidized flat. For example, John and Mary's first subsidized flat is a BTO flat or sales of balance flat. If they intend to sell this first subsidized flat, move on to the next BTO or sales of balance flat. Can they do so again? The answer is yes, no worries, but they have to take care again the housing resale levy. In another sample, the third case, assuming John and Mary's first subsidized flat is a HDB resale unit with housing grant, and they plan to sell away and move on with the next resale flat, but they also want to take a housing grant again. Can they do so? The answer is no, but maybe they can still try on the PHG if they have not taken this PHG before. The last scenario will be John and Mary's first subsidized unit is a BTO flat or a sales of balance flat. Upon the MOP of this unit, they sold and they want to move on with a HDB resale flat. But they heard from friends that they have never taken any housing grant benefit before. Can they do so with buying this HDB resale flat with housing grant? The answer is no. Why? It's because they have taken the first subsidized house flat under the BTO. But there again, they might be able to take the PHG if they have never applied before. Thank you for joining me today. Please like and subscribe our channel. I will see you next round in my sharing again. Thank you.